one of these things where you've heard it many times before, but maybe nobody really was able to explain it to you properly as far as what is the underlying truth behind this idea of non-duality. So I'll make some provocative statements and then we will discuss them. For example, good is not the opposite of bad. Light is not the opposite of dark. And love is not the opposite of hate. Okay? The world of opposites is an illusion. Okay? That's the statement, the provocative statement. Okay? The one that goes counter to what you would have originally assumed, right? Counter to what we learn in this world, you know, good and bad, right and wrong, that kind of stuff. So that's how we basically we grow up with that mentality, that consciousness, that limitation of our consciousness, where we have that dualistic understanding of the world. Okay. And I'm bringing it into the context of Gayatri Mantra because, as Pedro said, Gayatri is the invocation of illumination, which is the bringing of light. Now, what I already mentioned previously is that there really is not any such thing as good or bad, but there is such thing as light or dark in that sense, meaning that, and I haven't said that they're the opposite of each other. I'm just simply saying there is illumination, okay? And then there is not illumination, okay? It's not good or bad. There's either enlightenment or not. There's either ignorance or there is understanding, okay? So either you have illumination in your mind or you don't, but it's not going to be evil or good, okay? So far so good with that. So when we are invoking light with Gayatri Mantra, we are really going right to the heart of the entire matter when it comes to consciousness, is illumination, right? Now, when I say that good is not the opposite of bad, that would seem to be something that wouldn't make sense, right? Obviously good, bad, left hand, right hand, okay? Well, here's why we say this. And all of this information comes from this source that I'm going to give you now, and I highly suggest that you research this source on your own and that you read everything that he has written. His name is Dr. David Hawkins. David Hawkins, PhD, MD. He wrote a book, he wrote 3 books right now, all of which should be read, but they have to be read in order. Okay? And the first one is called Power versus Force. The second one is called The I, spelled this I, of the I, spelled this I. Okay? The I of the I. Okay? That's the second book. And the final book is called I. Just I. Okay, that's it. Those are the 3 things that he wrote so far. He also has many different CDs, and you can even see him on YouTube as well. Very few beings as enlightened as he is. And when you read what he wrote, and you understand what he calls what is the word he uses? He'll use the distribution of consciousness, the levels of consciousness that are potential for a human being. He's very interested in that. I'm not going to go too much into that because that's not where I want to go. I want to give you the source of what I'm going to speak to. I'm going to speak about it very quickly, briefly, because it's a very simple subject, and then we'll take questions if you have them. In the meantime, you really need to look at that guy yourself and study him over the next year to get those books read. Okay? They're not easy to read. Okay? This kind of book that you read it, and after you read 2 lines, you are so blown away, you can't even speak. You just read 2 lines, but 1 sentence, second sentence, that's it. Put the book down, and you just start spinning in meditation. Okay? So these books take a long time to read because they're not like a novel. You won't start flipping through them. Okay? But keep going with them because they will expose you to a frequency of enlightenment that is so high that if you're even exposed to it, it cannot help but bring you higher up. Okay? That's the nature of this kind of a thing. So here's the thing. Good is not the opposite of bad. Light is not the opposite of dark. Light is the, well, let's put it this way. Darkness is not the opposite of light. Darkness is the absence of light. Bad is not the opposite of good. Bad is the absence of good. Cold is not the opposite of heat. Cold is the absence of heat. Okay? This is a very radically different understanding from what you would have already been suspecting. Okay? Anyone know binary code? I don't mean that you know binary code, but you know what binary code is? Ones and zeros, ones and zeros, ones and zeros. See, that's the way nature works. Nature works in either on mode or off mode. That's it. On or off. 1 on, 0 off. That's it. Welcome to the world. Either you have heat or you don't have heat. Either you have goodness or you don't have goodness. Either you have light or you don't have light. But they're not opposites of each other. One is simply the absence of the other one. Does that make sense? So the whole idea of this dualistic opposite world where you have opposing forces, that is all something that has been basically downloaded to you incorrectly. That it's a misunderstanding of actually how the universe works. The universe doesn't work with opposites. It either works with on or off. Okay? Either you have the heat or you don't have the heat. Space is freezing cold. Not because it's the opposite of heat, it's because there is no heat there. Okay? Darkness is simply the absence of light. It's not the opposite of light. It's not bad. It's just there is no light. Okay? Which is why we're so interested in Gayatri Mantra as a force of illumination. Right? Because once you bring in illumination, there can be no darkness. Right? If I have a dark room and then I shine a very bright light into that dark room, what happens to the darkness? It goes away. Is there a really big battle? Is there a big fight between the force of light and the force of darkness? A big battle that has to happen? Like when you turn the light on, there's a war that happens between light and dark. Is there a battle? No, there is no battle. Darkness cannot fight light. There is no fight. Once light exists, darkness cannot be. That makes sense? Which is why it's so valuable to be invoking light into our minds. And that's what Gayatri is doing. See, Gayatri is saying we want to illuminate our intellect. The entirety of our mind needs to be enlightened, meaning illuminated, meaning light needs to be shining in it so that nothing inside of our mind is operating in darkness, is operating unconsciously. Most of us live our life with at least half of our brain spinning in some kind of unconscious hidden corner and in doing so kind of directing our course under the current. Okay? We can't even see it. It's hidden. Okay? There's words for this. Samskara is a great yogic word for that. It's kind of, the visualization is a crocodile, which is hidden under the water. Just the eyes are peeking out. And you can't see this thing. You can't see it. You can't see it. And all of a sudden it jumps out and grabs you. Meaning that even though you couldn't see it the whole time, it was there and it was affecting you, and then all of a sudden it takes you down. Which is what unconscious patterns in our mind do for us. Unconscious patterns. Unconscious patterns. We're not aware. We're not aware that every time someone does this to us, we do that. Every time we see this food, we do that. Every time this happens to us emotionally, we go for the ice cream. You know what I mean? These are unconscious patterns. You know, they're fine. They are what they are. But if we can bring light into the experience, we will realize an ability to transcend the pattern, and then we have what's called freedom. Okay? Then we have what's called liberation. And that's the whole point of yoga, moksha, okay? Kaivalya, enlightenment, nirvana. All they mean the same thing. Okay, they mean liberation from suffering.